He promised his best friend to become a monster hunter, and together they would destroy all the monsters. However, he failed miserably, and he himself became a monster instead. Will he be able to change the tides of his fate? A kaiju suddenly emerges in Yokohama and starts rampaging through the city, but it is swiftly vanquished by the defense force. The people applaud them for saving the city, but the dirty work is yet to be taken care of. Later, the slain body is cleaned by the monster sweepers. As they begin to clean the monster's splattered viscera, the supervisor notifies Kafka that they require someone to handle the intestines section, and he has been assigned there. Kafka protests the decision, but since the decision has already been taken by the higher-ups, nothing can be changed now. The scene of the intestines is as beautiful as you can imagine. The whole place is covered in intestinal tissue of the monster, and the super stenchy smell of the monster's poo-poo. The people assigned there are still vomiting due to the smell seeping even through their biohazard suit. After the work, Kafka returns to his apartment, but he can still smell the guts in the room despite the rigorous cleaning he went through. On TV, he notices the discussion about the captain of the Defense Force 3rd Division, Mina Ashiro, and her team is the one responsible for today's swift containment and neutralization of the kaiju attack. She has already neutralized hundreds of kaiju, and is the most popular captain in the service for her remarkable feats. She has the potential to become a Defense Forces commander in future. After seeing Mina on TV, Kafka recalls his memories with her when they were very young. He promised her that they will wipe out the kaijus together. Kafka reflects on the present, that how fate had entirely different plan. The job is messy, but the money is really good. He have a nice apartment and some beers too, but all this with a broken promise and the tag of a liar. The following day at work, Kafka meets Rino Ichikawa, a new young part-time employee who is attempting to enlist in the Defense Force. Rino is informed that long time ago, Kafka also attempted to enlist in the Defense Force, but he later gave up and chose to work for them on a permanent basis. According to Kafka, he gave up because the competition got very stiff, and with age, things became very hard for him. Rino says he has never give up mentality and can't comprehend Kafka's reasoning to give up so easily. On this remark, Kafka feels embarrassed. As they approach the kaiju, the manager assigns different tasks to each team and places Rino at intestines, which causes Kafka to laugh. However, the manager informs that Kafka has also been assigned to the intestines, because he is very skilled at cleaning intestines. After the cleaning session, both Kafka and Rino struggle to eat the lunch. Kafka provides Rino with vitamins and nose plugs to help him tolerate the intolerable foul odor. Rino refuses to use them, but Kafka forces him to do so, creating a humorous scene. Following the day, Rino thanks Kafka for aiding him throughout the day, and teaching him a lot about kaiju anatomy. He also reveals that due to Japan's declining birth rate, the Defense Force has increased the maximum recruitment age to 33. He suggests him to try his luck one last time. However, as Rino was leaving, a kaiju suddenly bursts out of ground and attempts to attack him. But Kafka quickly lunges and saves Rino before he could be eaten by a kaiju called Yoju. Kafka barely manages to save Rino and himself. Seeing the creature, he commands Rino to run and alert the other to bring in assistance. Rino is reluctant to leave him in such danger, but is forced by Kafka to follow his command. Kafka is once more brought back to his early years with Mina, as they take the decision to enlist in the Defense Force to fight the kaijus. Kafka is snapped back to reality as the Yoju smashes him aside and prepares to devour him. But Rino returns in time and smashes the Yoju with a sign pole. Rino explains that he has already sent the alarm and Defense Forces will be arriving here soon. When asked by Kafka on why he returned to such a dangerous situation, Rino explains that he wouldn't be able to join the Defense Forces if he had fled and left Kafka to die here. But then, the Yoju is obliterated into smithereens. Rino and Kafka are left shocked. Mina and the 3rd Division have arrived. Mina glances at Kafka for a while, reigniting the lost feelings. She proceeds to command the unit to aid the wounded, while she and the rest of the unit search for more Yojis possibly present in the area. Later, Reno and Kafka are shifted to General Hospital. Reno thanks Kafka for saving him, and suggests that he should consider attempting the Defense Force test again, and should join them. Kafka cheers up and decides to consider his suggestion and accepts it. But suddenly, he notices a small flying kaiju above him. The kaiju claims to have found him, but before he could respond, the kaiju enters his mouth and turns Kafka into a kaiju monster. Reno and Kafka are both perplexed. Kafka tries to convince Reno that it's him and not a kaiju. While passing by, an elderly man notices them. Seeing a kaiju in the hospital, he gets scared and sounds the alarm. While taking a bath,
Lord have mercy. We must stay focused, brothers.
Mina calls Kafka a liar, with a big L, while recalling her childhood, how Kafka lied about his intentions to stand by her side and fighting kaijus together. But Mina's thoughts are interrupted by a call from the commander about a kaiju appearance, and upon his orders, she agrees to send her squad to handle the issue. At the hospital, the old man is totally scared of the kaiju that Kafka has become. Reno suggests Kafka to smile, to ease the old man and clear the misunderstanding. However, the old guy just faints from the terrifying smile of Kafka. When Kafka touches the wall, it damages it severely, startling both him and Reno with the power Kafka possesses now. Kafka and Reno quickly realize that if the Defense Force arrives here, Kafka will also get blown into pieces. Realizing it, they consider fleeing. They decide to try to escape through the window, and when Kafka tries to open it, it shatters it completely, again shocking them. Seizing the opportunity, they both escape from the hospital. As they are running, suddenly Kafka's body begins to disfigure, and strange figures emerge from Kafka. But as Kafka opens his mouth, a long monstrous appendage emerges from within, snatching a bird from the vicinity and consuming it. He reverts to his original kaiju form. Kafka then remarks that he needs to urinate urgently, but he is confused as he doesn't have anything down there to pump it out. In his new body, he doesn't have proper control over it and starts leaking it from his nipples. The liquid begins gushing out from his nipples. Feeling ashamed, he declares no woman would want to marry him after this. But then he realizes that in this form, he might have a better chance of passing the Defense Force exam. But Reno warns that they will put him down immediately if he tries to do so. In midst of all that, Kafka starts sensing something underground. Suddenly, a kaiju emerges from the ground in the distance. Kafka believes it is a Yoju, similar to the one from yesterday. Reno proposes that this is the best chance for them to run and hide, as the Defense Force will be divided between them and the Yoju. At the site of emergence, a little girl is searching for her mother. The Yoju is about to devour the child, but Kafka shows up in time and punches the Yoju far away. Kafka is again perplexed at the strength he possesses. The little girl is scared of Kafka as a kaiju. Kafka tries to ease her with funny faces, but his misery is the only funny thing in this moment. The little girl only gets scared even more, while Kafka tries to ease her. Meanwhile, the Yoju stands up again. This time, Kafka decides to punch the Yoju with all of his strength. The Yoju is obliterated by his single punch. The blood of the exploded monster starts raining, drenching the surrounding in blood. Kafka informs the little girls that Reno will take them somewhere safe, and he will be leaving, so she doesn't have to be scared anymore. As he was about to leave, the little girl comes forward and thanks him for saving them. Upon seeing the little girl, Kafka is reminded of his broken promise he made to Mina when they were young. Kafka reinvigorates his spirit and informs Reno that he won't be giving up anymore. He will stand by Mina's side and will fulfill his promise to her, while slowly turning back into a human. Based upon the eyewitness's account, the Defense Force designates the Kafka's kaiju form as Kaiju number 8, and is currently hunting for him. He is the 8th documented kaiju this year. It's been 3 months since they haven't been able to neutralize a notorious kaiju. Kafka and Reno receive a letter from the Defense Force. Both of them have passed the first stage of the exam. Reno approaches Kafka, who is assigned to the cleaning section. When Reno gets there, he notices that Kafka's head is transformed into the kaiju and begins yelling at him for exposing himself recklessly. Kafka corrects him, saying he wasn't aware of it and that he occasionally switches unconsciously when he isn't paying attention. Reno tells him they made it past the first stage, but he doesn't seem particularly excited about it. Kafka explains that he always falls short on the second stage. Reno expresses his worries that the second stage is a physical exam, and during it, he might unintentionally turn into the kaiju and get killed. But Kafka reassures him that he can manage it. At that same time, his face again starts morphing into the kaiju, proving how neatly he will get himself shot. Kafka explains that he has already done a lot of research on the kaijus in the last 3 months, and there doesn't seem to be any way for him to become normal again. Regardless, it's his last shot at it, as he is already 32 years old, so he must take the risk. While again transforming into the kaiju while trying to open a bottle. 10 days later, they show up at Defense Forces Tachikawa base for the second stage evaluation. It is a heavily guarded base, responsible for mobilizing officers in times of emergency. A girl approaches Kafka from behind and asks him to move his van, while calling him an old man. Kafka is triggered by her remark. She wants him to move his van, so she can park her car at the 55th parking spot, as today, her lucky number is 5 and his van is sitting on the 55th parking spot. In response to Kafka's perplexity, the girl decides to move his van on her own. She reveals her power suit, lifts the van with one arm, and tosses it aside, leaving Kafka and Reno shocked. She is revealed to be examinee number 2016, Kokoro Shinomiya. She then asks Kafka why he smells like a kaiju. Reno intervenes and explains that he and Kafka work at a kaiju disposal company. Meanwhile, the van is flipped back by Kafka, shocking Kokoro. She implies that he must possess a private suite just like her. As Kafka introduces himself, he reminds Kokoro to remember his name as well, Kafka Hibino. Kokoro tells Kafka that she came to the exam as a formality, but it seems like she may have some fun along the way, and she will make sure to make him look like a fool at the exam. Man, this girl's ego is bigger than Godzilla's ass. As she leaves, Reno gets upset with Kafka for using his abilities in public. Kafka tries to explain that he only transformed the body hidden under his clothes, which she couldn't see. The second stage consists of 2 tests, a fitness test and an aptitude test. According to Reno, they must perform well on the fitness exam, because aptitude test is always a wild card variable that fluctuates every year. During the fitness test, Kafka considers using his power but decides not to, as it would be unfair against the other examinees. Later, he barely manages to keep up during the fitness test and finishes 219th out of 225 participants. To which he says that it has been ages since he took the exam and regrets not using his powers, instead of trying to sound like a based hero. And obviously, Kokoro doesn't miss the chance to poke fun at him. Meanwhile, Soshiro presents the examinee applications to Mina Ashiro, saying they have some interesting people in the examination, but remarks that she is probably more concerned about killing kaijus rather than the paperwork. But when she sees Kafka's application, she decides to pay attention to him, which surprises Soshiro. Then Soshiro begins to discuss the prominent candidates, and Reno also discusses them. They talk about how well prepared the top 3 contenders are in the fitness test. Haruichi Izumo at 2nd place, Aharu Furuhashi at 3rd place, and Aoi Kaguragi at 1st place. Most of the contenders are from prominent neutralization universities and colleges in the country, and can be considered as elites, but Kokoro stands out as the best of them all. She is a well-recognized prodigy among the candidates as well. When Kokoro approaches Kafka again, Kafka is surprised that she is a big thing, but her butler promptly rebukes him for touching her. She laughs at him for acting like an idiot once again. The candidates then prepare for the aptitude test. Reno remarks that over the previous 2 years, the aptitude test involved disposing of kaiju bodies, which is organized as such to increase the understanding of other kaiju neutralization organizations among the candidates. This is also the reason why he joined Kafka's organization. Soshiro introduces himself as the head of screening commit and vice captain of the 3rd division. He stands at the entrance gate of the training area too, revealing that the second section of the examination will be kaiju neutralization. Kafka is shocked when Soshiro discloses that the aptitude test consists of kaiju neutralization. Soshiro elaborates that each one of them will receive a defense force suit, which contains kaiju muscle fibers and boosts the user's strength based upon compatibility, so they won't just send them in, like cannon fodder. Reno unleashes 8% of his combat power after equipping the suit. Reno exclaims, "Is 8% the max he can get?" Soshiro answers his question by explaining that 8% is a very decent gain, and a skilled general officer at best achieves a 20% gain. But to everyone's shock, Kikoru the prodigy unleashes a staggering 46%. Soshiro remarks that the potential unleashed by Kikoru puts her in the same class as that of a platoon leader. Haruichi Azumo unleashes 18%, Aoi Kagurari unleashes 15%, and Aharu Furuhashi unleashes 14%. The fact that there are so many above 10% surprises Soshiro and the others. Soshiro says that this year is probably their luckiest. Given the results of others, Soshiro reassures Rino that any percentage above 0 is good enough to pass the test, and anyway, he has never seen anyone with 0% of unleashed potential. But to add to everyone's record-breaking streak, Kafka releases a whopping 0%. Seeing this, Soshiro just can't hold back his laughter. Kikoru also pokes fun at Kafka by saying, he better show the strength he displayed at parking before this exam ends. Later, the candidates are brought to the training area for the final test. Soshiro reveals that they will have to neutralize 36 Honju and Yoju Kaijus. A drone with automatic tracking will keep track of each examinee. The survival of the candidates is not guaranteed, but they will activate the suit shield if their life is in any danger they can't handle. However, this will result in the total elimination of the candidate from the exam. As the test begins, Kafka and Rino theorize that if the test was simply to see how many kaijus they can kill, using only the senses would have been enough, which means they are also evaluating candidates' actions and how they adapt and devise plans to deal with the threats using their skills. Kafka decides that they must act as backup for everyone because they are weak on offense. While on his mission, Kafka encounters a Yoju and, utilizing the knowledge gained from his cleaning experience, he stuns the Yoju using a stun grenade. He explains that the Yojus have hyper-developed sense of hearing to make up for their rudimentary eyes, making neutralizing them a lot easier once their hearing ability is taken care of. He also warns the other examinees that the Yoju's stomach is soft and weak, making it easy to pierce, and advises them to aim for it. The other candidates thank him for the intel as a Kikoru groupie. Kafka rejects any association with her. The situation seems to be going well, but suddenly, a Yoju emerges from the ground and attacks Kafka from the right flank. The attack severely injures Kafka. He attempts to stand up but can't. The Kaiju is rapidly approaching to consume him. He can't use his Kaiju abilities either, as it would compromise his secret. Soshiro orders the suit shield to be prepared for deployment. If the shield activates, he would be eliminated as per the rules, making him look like a loser and once again disappointing Mina. Kafka doesn't want to lose his last chance at redemption. What will he do? The situation looks grim for Kafka. Perhaps his fate is indeed that of a loser.